Okay guys, well, I'm going to try the old way I used to do makeup versus the new. And when I say the new, I mean with a sponge, with primer. I've already got eye primer underneath my eyeshadow on this side. I'm going to do a half of the face. This side's going to have the primer. This side's going to be the way I used to do it. I've noticed one thing already is that eyeshadow with primer does hold the color more. I really hope I'm not going to look like a hot mess going out in public like this. I'm going to give you a whole day of, well, most of a whole day of wear, and we'll see what it looks like at the end of the day, and I hope it holds up, but we will see, because I'm still not 100% convinced that primer is as good as they say. Not just primer, but setting spray. I didn't use primer or setting spray when I was starting to wear makeup at the age of 12 and a half till now, which is the age of 58. So, and you'll see my little humility maker, which I told you about before, my little accident with a derma roller. Anyway, so let's get on with the job. First thing I have to do is put on, which I will always do, because you should wear it, is sunscreen. The sunscreen I'm wearing right now is the Neutrogena Ultra Sheer Water Light Daily Face Sunscreen in 60. Mix the noise and shake it, because it's obviously got something in there. And I'm gonna do this on my neck. Oh, it's on my neck. Where's your neck? It's one of the first things that kind of falls apart. Yeah, I gotta find, I mean, I guess an eyeshadow is a kind of a manual block against the sun, but I gotta find more eyeshadows and stuff like that blocks the sun for your eyes, because most of these sunscreens you just can't put around your eyes or near your eyes. Don't get it in your eyes. Okay. All right, so I should actually wait a few minutes for it to soak in, but I'm not gonna. So my dad would just not be happy with me saying gonna. Next I'm gonna do, put the primer on. This one is CoverGirl True Blend Base Business Skin Primer in Pore Minimizing. I'm not really sure, obviously, if this is going to be all primers, all fixatives, the spray, setting spray, or just a particular kind, but I'm doing this to get an idea of really does primer make a difference if you compare, which I've never done before. So I'm doing this for myself as well. So a little bit of primer. Okay, guys. A little bit of primer. pore minimizing primer, and I really don't know if it's going to do much, but we'll see. Okay. All right. Primer. Eyeshadow primer. Very light eyeshadow, just because I don't want to look like a super freak. Okay. Now, foundation. This is drugstore foundation. I like to vary my foundations, and I just felt like getting an inexpensive one. Guess which one? Anyway, I'm sure you can guess. So, I'm going to put this on the primer side with a bit of with a sponge, wet sponge, pre-moistened. I'm using this like my camera like a mirror. Yep. Okay. Even though I do have a mirror, maybe I should actually use the mirror. Okay. All right, so that's with a sponge, a wet sponge, damp sponge. And you can see I've got a zit there from something. Okay. Now the other side, I'm going to do the way I did for many, many years. And that is by hand. And yes, I'm one of those people who puts foundation on their neck because I've seen too many cases of white neck, which really looks dumb when you have a white neck and a dark face, or darker face. I don't think I'll ever have a dark face because I'm so pale. And my freckles probably could be darker, but I use sunscreen primarily February to November. And I know people say you should wear it all year round, but I am not in that population of people who say that because I think your skin needs to breathe. I think you need to get a break. And in the winter, you also need to get more vitamin D. So, like I still wear makeup, but I don't worry about sunscreen in the winter. Unless I'm going to a really snowy place like a snow hill or something if I was going skiing. I have skied. And I've also fallen and sprained my ankle.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so applied with hands, no primer. Primer applied with a sponge. Do I see a big difference at this point? Not really. Not really. And yeah, my hair's still wet. Washed it today and it is drying. Is my hair dyed? No, my hair is not dyed. Will my hair go gray? Eventually. My mother never started going gray until I think she was almost 70. So, okay, next thing. Little concealer. Because I want to. And I think it helps with the dark spots on my face. I took a picture once, one of those photo booths a long time ago, and I noticed that If I didn't have concealer around here, I'd get these dark spots. I don't even know what they are. They're like weird. Oh, I should use this on this side. They're like weird shadows on my face. So, okay, so I'm putting the concealer on with the sponge. It's half of it. And, okay, and the other half with my fingers. Okay. Oh, freaking hot. I don't know about you, but you older ladies, the hot flashes are something else.
Love that.
I could melt the snow on the street, the ice, by just laying on it. I'm sure I could. Okay, so there you go. I don't know. I'm thinking this side looks like it has actually more, and I use pretty much the same amount. This side looks a little bit more natural from the get-go, so we'll see. Next thing I do is I put on some powder, e.l.f. This is just the soft luminance. Luminance. Sprinkle the powder in. I don't use a lot of powder because powder just seems to settle in every little line and makes you look darker. I could use a brush, but I don't feel like it. So I'm using it just around the area that I'm going to put blush, so it doesn't catch too much. A little bit on my forehead, of course, on my nose. And since I'm going to put a little bit of contour under my chin, I have to put this on. So I really do like e.l.f. powder. I like a lot of e.l.f. products. Fairly good quality for cheap products. Okay, powdery soft. Now, blush. I'm using the CoverGirl Cheekers in, I think it's just in pink, classic pink, because I'm a classic kind of girl. So, and I'm using the little brush that's inside because I feel like it. Okay. Looks nice. A nice little bit of shine to it. I don't feel like putting on like gleamy stuff. Illuminator. I'm the illuminator. So I'm just going to use a bit of this contour with not too much on, just to give my face a little bit of separation from my neck. This is pretty bad when you have that kind of thumb head where you don't have any kind of definition, like any bones. I could put a little bit here on the brush. I don't worry too much. I just didn't want to have a thumb face, because that would be so bad. No contour in my nose. I never do that. My nose is narrowing up. So, last thing I put on. And, well, yes, I am sitting down. I just felt like it. So, I'm using a, I don't remember what this lip thing is called, and the label's all rubbed off. But anyway, like just a little around. And outline it a bit. There we go. That's me. The way I used to do it. Primer, sponge. From right off the start, I can see that the primer on my eye gives me a little bit more color, holds the color a little better, same color. And it looks a little bit more natural on this side than that side, but we will see what transpires in maybe 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. I'll see ya soon. Okay guys, I forgot my e.l.f. Dewy Setting Mist, so I will do that on one side. Okay, well, let's see what happens. See you later. So it has been about 6.5 minutes, and I know 6.5 minutes, 6.5 hours, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did Ravi did she get a facelift? Why is her face thinner? Why is she her face look a little less lined? It's because I'm lying down. There's a trick for all you people who want to have a slimmer face. Lie down. Of course, your neck's still. Anyway, so this is 6 hours after, after putting on makeup, and I'm using the same light, and that's 6 hours of eye boogies. And anyway, guys, I don't know. I don't think anything really oxidized. I can't really see a huge difference between the side with no primer versus the side with primer. His eye's a little smudgier. Oh, that's what happens after 6.5 hours. Well, that's smudgy too. Of course, my lipstick has come off, but I'm trying to see if there's a big difference. Now, the color on my eyes, the little bit of eyeshadow that I have on, stayed on better with the primer, and at least the color stayed as strong. Yeah, I can't really see a huge difference. I don't even know if my face looks pore minimized or not. I tend to have big pores around here and around here, and they look just the same. So I think for me, primer and setting spray doesn't seem to make much of a difference. You may have a different reaction, but for me, I'm probably going to stop buying primer, and maybe I'll keep the setting spray just because it feels good. But the primer doesn't really do anything for me. At least the face primer doesn't. Eye primer does. Face primer, no. So guys, that was my little experiment. Primer versus none. Old way of doing makeup versus newer way of doing makeup. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I learned something. And and I will see you next week. And remember to wash your hands. You're probably getting tired of hearing that, but wash your hands. Okay, guys, see you next week.